This is like the worst boy band ever. So, good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Welcome. Welcome to Aqua Nueva. It was a beautiful venue. Thank you very much to all the team that are looking after us today, and thank you to the sun for coming out. Next time we'll do it outside, right? That'd be lovely. We're joined here today, brought to you by TISSL. My name is Chris Fletcher. I am the founder and CEO of a company called Tech on Toast. We sit in between the suppliers and the operators, helping people find, buy, and manage their hospitality tech. We have podcasts and all kinds of other crazy things we do, and I get to talk a lot, which is my favorite thing. Joining us today alongside TISSL are Krowd, Piggy, GiftPro, and SevenRooms. And also joining us today, we have our good friends. He's like my lookalike, Adam Foreman here, from Captive Wi-Fi, who's doing all the filming today with sound and vision as well. Thank you very much for joining in. So that's it, I think, for the welcomes. Let me just do some housekeeping. If you need a drink or anything, I think there's some free-flowing drinks at the bar here if you haven't seen them already. Your toilets, I feel like the air stewardess here. Your toilets are down here and on the left if you need them. There's no fire alarm planned, apparently. Let me see what else. Have I got everything, Jesse? I'm struggling here to remember. 2 seconds. There's more, isn't there? Yes, there's a demo area at the back of the room here. So once you've heard these lovely people talk and share their wisdom, there's an area right at the back of the room there where you can go and check out the product and go and get involved and touch and feel it, and the guys will help you out back there. Lanyards, if you noticed, we're in the blue ones, but if you see like I'm going to go for the salmon colour. The salmon colour, that's the team from TISSL. So if you need any questions or want anything answered, please find them. They will help you out. There is a photographer floating around, my good friend here. If you don't want to be in any of the social media output from this event, then just raise your hand later on and tell us, and we'll make sure that you're not included. And I think I'm nearly there. And the Wi-Fi, I shouldn't forget to mention, is brought today by Captive Wi-Fi, Adam. So if you want to log in, it's pretty easy, it's quite slick, and it actually works, which is good. Thank you, Adam. Okay, good. So we shall get involved. Gents, you all have microphones here. I'm just going to run through this agenda. I'm going to come over. I might stand up for this. Is that weird? Yeah. No, it's fine. So we've got the guest unravel bit we've done. We've got our panel discussion now, which is all about our tech partners here, talking about what's coming up in 2025 and talking about some of the challenges we're facing. We've got the product demos at 1:30, as I mentioned. Then we've got another panel after that, where you've had some food and a bit of refreshment with our beautiful operators who are all in the room hanging around somewhere. You'll get to meet them in a bit. Then we've got some sweet treats, a bit more networking, and then you can be on your way into the 80-degree heat. So, very good. So, shall we begin, guys? Shall we just introduce you all? Shall we start at the end? If you can play past the mic here. We'll start with Lawrence. So, Lawrence, who are you? What do you do?
Yes, I'm Lawrence. I'm from the Netherlands, and I'm from Piggy, and soon to be lead, by the way. So we're going to have a little name change. The product will be the same, maybe slightly better, but we will have a name change. We serve a loyalty CRM to hospitality. So that's what we do.
Very good. And welcome from Holland. I think, are you the furthest travel today?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you are. Welcome. So a little ripple, please, for Lawrence. There you go. Who's next?
I came from Kent, so that's sort of.
And you were late.
and I was late, yeah, sorry. Hi, my name is Matt Ford, Business Development Director at Krowd. Been there for 3 years, pretty much. Prior to that, I was at Hawksmoor, and then prior to that, I was at Gaucho, so good with steak, good with red wine. I think Mark might be here from Gaucho as well. So, yeah, a little bit about Krowd and what we do. We power, essentially, we work in what we call the CLO space, card-linked offers. You may have heard of Amex Dining. We power Amex Dining. There's obviously a lot of people here that have brands that are on the Amex Dining platform. We also look and are moving into the loyalty space in terms of instant rewards and what that looks like. Really excited to be here and hopefully can impart some knowledge.
Welcome. A little ripple for our friend here from Krowd. I feel like I'm forcing him to clap, sorry. Next up, who are you?
Hi guys, I'm James from SevenRooms, Senior Customer Success Manager here in Europe and the Middle East, formerly from the operations side, so have been in the shoes of restaurant management, so feel the pain, but also the joy, do miss it. SevenRooms, for those of you who don't know, is an all-in-one marketing and operations solution, really to help restaurants and growing restaurants in the hospitality sector drive sales, bring their guests back time and time again through personalized experiences. I've come from Victoria, so not very far away.
Thank you very much. See, look.
So, for those who don't know me, I'm Michael. You can probably tell by the colour here that I work at TISSL. I'm the product manager, and yeah, I work alongside our development, marketing, and sales teams, doing various things, helping build the product, help a bit of positioning, and yeah, just generally making sure we're all moving in the same direction. I've been here for about 2.5 years, and yeah, absolutely love it. Hospitality is a really interesting industry, and it's always changing. That's what I love about it. So that's it.
Thank you. And finally, I feel like I might have to stand up for this. I'm never going to see you on the end there. Hello, who are you and what do you do?
I'm James. Hi, guys, from GiftPro. GiftPro is, hopefully you'll agree, the UK's leading hospitality, gift voucher sales, fulfillment and management platform. I'm one of the business development team. I've been in the business for just over 5 years now, working in account management and sales. And yeah, really excited to speak to you guys and find out some of the questions that you have.
Lovely, and a great segue. Round of applause, sorry, thank you. A great segue there. In the top corner of the screen, you can see a little QR code. If you scan that, that'll take you straight to Slido. If you're not familiar with Slido, it's a lovely little app where you can add questions, so you don't have to put your hand up and get embarrassed. You can just ask your question on there. You can be anonymous, or you can put your name on. But you can, as the panel are saying interesting things, you can add questions on there. And then at the end of the chat, we'll come back to Slido and see what's there. If there's no questions, I'll make Sarah come into the audience and ask some. So wherever you are, Sarah. All right, let's get into it, chaps. I mean, I think we've had an overview of what you all do in terms of where you work and what you do. We'll start down here with you, Lawrence. We'll have to play past the mic here, guys. Thank you. So really looking at product advancement, because as you mentioned, the product might be better next year when you move into Leap rather than Piggy. What kind of features are your guests asking for you, and what kind of things are coming up next year for you?
Next year, I'm not sure.
Okay, let's go with this year.
But so I think the exciting thing so about a year ago, so we've been doing this for 11 years already, and serve about 10,000 businesses with a CRM, loyalty CRM. So when I was entering this new market for us, I thought it was very exciting. And what I got a lot is that there is a search for a CRM, so one central point of truth, but that's not all of it. They want to be able to engage really advanced. So that's the thing. You get your data in, but you want to communicate really advanced, right? With cool stuff. That's the thing. And the thing is, we started as a loyalty company 10 years ago, but we turned into a SaaS product, which is loyalty and CRM. So we started with loyalty, so those features are very advanced, and that's opening a lot of doors now at the moment. So I think that's going to progress. More people looking for not just a loyalty scheme, but to have everything kind of.
No, and the simplification of that. One thing, I was in another panel earlier in the week, and we were talking about the fact that it's great to have all this tech available to us, but actually simplicity is what the operators want. They want the ease of use. And I was watching you guys doing a demo down in Orry in London, in Borough Market, was it? Yeah, in Borough Market, and the speed of getting onto the platform and being able to use it was great.
Yeah, so it has to be very intuitive, and we also started with like the bakeries and butchers back in the days, and they were very skilled at specific areas, but less skills in, let's say, handling marketing or computer. So we it should be extremely intuitive, and so now we profit from that, having very easy to use system, and that makes it very scalable as well, and doesn't need a lot of support.
Good, that's the way I'd like to hear it. What about you, Matt? What's that? Because linking quite nicely into loyalty, what you guys do.
Yeah, I think from a hospitality perspective, and when we talk about data, we work in a very emotive business, and hospitality has always been like, I think, I feel, that looks good, that smells good, that tastes good. But actually having data and making data-driven decisions, not to patronize anyone, but we've been a little bit slow to get to where we are. And I think now we have integrations. There are opportunities from not just a CRM perspective, but everywhere from loyalty to instant rewards to card-linked programs. Hospitality as a whole is and continues to go through tough times, right? Margins are tight. We're constantly battling with food prices. But the key thing that everybody wants is incremental spend. Everybody wants a first-time diner. They want to steal from your competitors. And now there are platforms and opportunities out there to be able to do that. You're able to tactically target people, which is what we do at Krowd, based on where people like to go and where they tap their card. And if the best analogy is a Hawksmoor versus a Gaucho, because I've worked for them and they're in the room, so it's all right to say. But ultimately, you want to be targeting people that actually want to come to your restaurant. And if you're able to do that through data-driven decisions, tactically and smartly, but also it's done in a way that it feels personal, then that for me is what people are looking for, because people still want to go out. There are still consumers. We all want to fill Monday lunchtime, right? But there are those that still want to go out and have money to spend. But there is this sort of level of kind of, I want to be incentivized. I have money. I probably won't go out 4 times a month, but I'll go out 3 times a month. And if I do, then what are you going to offer me?
Yeah, everyone loves a deal, right?
Everyone loves a deal, right? That's the world we live in.
I think often I didn't say at the start, but I spent my life in ops. That's why I look like I do. And I was 20 years running restaurants. And I think it's really easy to lose a customer, right? But it's so hard to win one. And I think what you guys are doing as we move down the line actually makes real sense. Was this deliberate? But it makes real sense about how to not just win them back, retain them. And I think I'm moving on to SevenRooms straight away from there, sorry. But thank you, Matt. It's the same question for you, really, because SevenRooms is working hard to kind of maintain that relationship and also make it seamless. Can you explain a little bit around what the product's doing and what's coming up?
Yeah, I mean, whilst I can't say too much about what's coming up next year.
Are you guys all under like some mad NDA?
But there's a lot of exciting developments, of course. And we continue to invest heavily in the product. And like you say, I think simplicity and automation, as Matt said, I think really is at the heart of it. And so I think one of the things is that operators are busy, right? We know that, everyone knows that, everyone's busy. But how can you make sure that you're really adopting all the features that drive value for you? And so where SevenRooms comes in really is, making sure that guest data really is front and center for those decisions. So one of the things that we did roll out this year was a revenue management tool that, again, it's sort of how do you make sense of that data? Everyone's talking about data, but all of the platforms here, there is so much data captured within those systems, but what do you do with it? And it's the same operationally, right? As a GM on the floor, I might know that Table 21 loves red wine, but am I actually going to use that insight? And so that's really where it comes down to, is making sure that it's actionable and front and center. So with the revenue management tool, that's very much what it is. It's containing all of that information from your restaurant and putting the top 3 insights in front of you to say, how can you make your restaurant more efficient, make more money ultimately?
That's great, right? You can put that like on your pre-shift notes in the morning. I'm guessing like here are the top 3. These people are coming in tonight. This is what they like to drink, that kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah. And so, at the end of the day, I think, consumers these days, and what we're seeing a growing trend of is they're really looking for convenience, value, but personalization is huge. And so if you have that guest data captured, being able to see their history, where they've dined within your group, what they're ordering, if I know that as a GM that, Tim always drinks sparkling water, why ask? Just drop that sparkling water as soon as they arrive. And just those little touches really help. And so being able to capture and harness that information is really at the heart of what we're doing. And I think we'll ultimately continue. But simplifying things to a degree is, how can you make things plug and play? Tech is complicated, operators are busy. So how do you sort of combine the two, really streamline that onboarding process to ensure that they are able to adopt these features to ultimately then make value from it in the end of the day?
Perfect. And that brings me on nicely to the heartbeat of the tech stack. I'm looking at you there. So obviously TISSL sits in the middle of a lot of these products. Talk to us a little bit about how that relationship works and what your product looks like, because you look after the product, obviously. But yeah, what that looks like for you guys.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I think 2025 is going to be an amazing year for innovation, personally. I think over the last couple of years, there has been a lot of challenges for the industry, and I think that's really brought out the most, in the restaurants, in everyone in the business, to kind of meet up and face those challenges. Obviously, some of them have been mentioned. One's data, and making that data accessible. That's a big thing for us. Another one is obviously cost savings, efficiency, that's already mentioned, and staff retention, which is also a big one. So to kind of tackle those, we've been really focusing on those key kind of 3 kind of challenges and building our product, or building a new product, I should say, kind of to address it. So what can we look for in 2025 is we do have a new product coming out. It's going to be piloted this year. It's called TISSL Swift and is essentially a handheld POS device on a PDQ machine, so on your payments platform. This is kind of a bit more than your tableside ordering because we already do that at the moment with our current product Horizon. So this is going to be really full POS features on your PDQ that has a built-in camera, has a built-in printer. So when you think about it, there's no reason for your member of staff to kind of leave that table and, kind of get themselves out of that connection with the customer to go do a task such as print a bill, find a PDQ machine. It's all kind of there, all in one, and really enables them to focus on what they should be doing, which is obviously communicating and engaging with the customer. And for the cost savings, if you're having multiple devices, this should really consolidate all of that into one. So it really removes the need to have so many different kind of pieces of hardware and kit around that the staff had to use different programs, different systems, go and find, this PDQ here, find this TISSL, this iPad, this till here, this iPad there. It's kind of all there for them. And on the data point as well. Oh, sorry. Just been told off. And on the data side as well, we've been really concentrating on making data accessible. We've got something called a report builder. And this is essentially going to let our customers kind of customize and make their own reports in the system, because data is incredibly valuable, but it's what you do with it, and it's valuable to the person. They dictate how valuable it is depending on what they need it for. But it's also accessibility. And I think a lot of people forget about that because so much data is captured in various different systems. And you can access it from all these different systems, but it's really what it is looking for, and is the data that you need, is that actually going to be valuable to you? So, those are some really important things for us.
Thank you. And on the end there, I don't know if I'm leaning over to see you. Hello, James. Tell us a little bit about GiftPro and what's going on for you guys.
Yeah, so GiftPro, we're, like I said, a gift voucher sales fulfillment and management platform. Something that's quite noticeable, actually, in the time that I've been with GiftPro is the importance of integrations. So I think a lot of our plan for next year is adding new integrations, real valuable integrations for hospitality, but also improving the ones that we have. So for our hotelier clients, that might be their property management system. And I mean, being a sister company of TISSL, our clients can already redeem their gift vouchers directly on the tills. But we've got plans to allow TISSL clients to actually sell their gift cards directly through their TISSL POS system using a GiftPro tech. And that's really important because ultimately when you're in a restaurant, that's when your experience of that is going to be at its most acute, its most vivid. And that, if you've had a good experience, is the best time to target people. So it's a really good opportunity. We also have some quite big plans in terms of expanding the actual offering that we have within the GiftPro package because at the moment, actually, you can integrate with various sort of EMS systems. If you use MailChimp, for example, you can get your data directly in a list, and you've got that available to remarket to, especially those core times of the year. But not everyone has a marketing system like that. So we're actually going to enhance the GiftPro offering to allow customers to actually build a database of their gift card purchases within GiftPro, and to use that obviously in a GDPR compliant way. And I mean, gifting isn't rocket science. You've got these key times of the year: Christmas, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, Father's Day. And if you've got that list within GiftPro of these customers have purchased gift vouchers from us previously, it's a no-brainer to be able to allow them to sort of use that data to its fullest extent and target them around those peak times of the year as well.
Can I ask you something?
Absolutely.
Because you said gift cards isn't no rocket science, right?
Yeah.
So how can I make this about me? No, but we had a tough time cracking one specific thing. We did, and that was the omni-channel gift card solution. So what you see now, also here in London, by the way, Conditor has a brilliant Shopify web shop. Yep. You buy the gift card over there, and you can spend it on their Shopify POS or Lightspeed or TISSL or whatever, yep. And also online. And that's we had a lot of questions about that in the past. A lot of brands are looking for that. Do you solve that with GiftPro as well? Do you integrate with Shopify, WooCommerce, and you have this without sending you to a different page and like?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So at the moment, we do have an integration with Shopify that allows our clients to sell their vouchers through GiftPro and redeem them on Shopify. So they might have a really comprehensive e-commerce selection on Shopify and a restaurant, for example, because we do. As you can tell from us being here, we work typically with hospitality clients. We also have a completely open API. So a number of our clients over the years have used that API for various self-built integrations. And one of them, we've got a create order, essentially API call. We have got a guide for that as well. So if you wanted to actually build the sales process of the gift cards into Shopify, so you're not sending someone out to a second website to buy a gift card versus their products, they can actually build that all into their Shopify. We're still sat there behind the system. If they use TISSL, for example, they can still use TISSL to redeem that gift card on the tills. So yeah, in short, the answer is yes.
Okay, very quick. Maybe discuss it later, but you mean you don't use the infrastructure of Shopify, you use your infrastructure building blocks to make that sales process, but I'm thinking it's already in there. It's already, Shopify has an amazing infrastructure already. Why would you kind of have to build it to be able to use a GiftPro thing in Shopify? Is this too Dutch, too direct?
No, I like it. It's good to be put on the spot early in the panel. No,
Sorry.
No, you can use the Shopify infrastructure if you purely wanted GiftPro to fulfill your gift cards, because that's the one thing Shopify doesn't do, right? You're not going to get Shopify to run to a post office every afternoon and post your gift cards out on a December. So you can actually just use our fulfillment solution on a standalone basis using Shopify. But using the integration of that create order function, you are still selling the gift card within Shopify. You're using their platform. We just have the order created. We're essentially acting as the order processor in that case, so we can still fulfill it. We still have records. You can still use all of the GiftPro integrations, which Shopify is lacking in those cases. It is skinned as Shopify. You can buy a gift voucher and a bottle of wine at the same time through that store. It's just a plugin that alerts us of the order and allows us to process in the background.
Well, there you go. I'm glad we got there. Good. And the problem with all this stuff is that if you don't adopt it, it doesn't work anyway, right? So if you, a lot of people, I rolled out a product across Carluccio's to 85 sites back in 1973 when I was in ops, and we rolled it out really badly, right? And no one used it, and it ended up being an absolute car crash, and we ended up ripping it out and putting something else, and it probably wasn't anything to do with the product. It was more around the way we didn't have adoption or roll it out. I'll start with you, Matt, because we don't want to listen to Lawrence anymore. No, I'm joking. I'll start with you, Matt. How do you go about solving those adoption challenges? Because obviously it's not always on the operator, right? You guys have a duty as well to make sure that actually your product is sold in and being used to realize the real ROI.
Yeah, I think the key thing is actually finding a product which is actually going to enhance, whether it be a guest experience or whether it's within back of house function. But also the whole point of tech, and as technology evolves, it's to streamline things and to make things cleaner and smarter and more efficient and more intuitive. Hospitality is still hospitality, right? To work in hospitality, you've got to be hospitable and got to enjoy the face-to-face aspect of it. But, if I go back to one of my days at Gaucho, and we had open table, and we had the slots, and it was, sorry to say, we didn't. SevenRooms wasn't around then. I'm sure we would have had it.
Stop talking.
Yeah, just, when you start, you're like, no. But it was then used, as you said earlier, to look at the guests, look at the customer profile, and actually enhance the experience, which is what we're trying to do at Krowd. And we are trying to work with brands, restaurants, to go after incremental spend in a way that's never been done before. Those loyalty programs that we're all probably quite aware of. McDonald's are doing something at the moment and have been with Monopoly, and then you've got like Nando's with their chili fire. The fact that you've now got Michelin star restaurants on a platform like Amex Dining on the premise that they want incremental first-time diners, and the way to do that is to go and target people through their phone app, and we all probably use offers, right? What we're trying to do is change the narrative, and I think we are getting there in the fact that a 2% cashback at Costa Coffee is not really going to change anyone's narrative, but actually 10% at a Gordon Ramsay restaurant or Hawksmoor or Gaucho, I'm in for that. And, we come out of that terrible word pandemic where hospitality was looking for ways to engage with a new audience. And the easiest way to do that for us is card-linked offers. And there's us and there's a couple of other players in the market. The next step and the next evolution of that is then instant incentivization and being able to tactically target people. And you might be going into a Wednesday night and you're going, I'm 20% down. Can I just push something out? And you can just target people immediately. It's that's where we are in hospitality. And I think anything that can drive covers, spend, revenue, bring people back into hospitality is a good thing. And,
Well, and
that's where
a
we sit.
That's a very different way of looking at adoption, right? So there's a need, you know,
Yeah.
so you're servicing the need where, you know, where, as you say, if there's peaks and troughs through the day or through the week, you can service that through tech. I think it becomes quite exciting where I can literally, it's another lever to pull, right? To be able to kind of put some bums on seats. And SevenRooms is a huge product, as we were discussing outside before, actually. And I've had the privilege of meeting your founders before and chatting to them about the product. And I think it's, how do you know that your customers are getting full return on investment, I suppose, or how do you ensure they get full return on investment by using your product properly? Does that sound right?
No, it's a good question. I think one of the things that we've really focused on this year, and it starts right from the beginning of the sales process, is expectation setting. So, you know, we're a service provider, but ultimately we're a partner. And so on the other side of that, on the restaurant side, we want to hold them accountable too to agreeing to adopt some of these key value driving features. So when it comes to sort of joining on with SevenRooms, you know, part of the agreement is that, you know, there are certain features like marketing automation, like having a payment gateway integrated, things like that, where you can really see the ROI within the platform, are almost mandatory, really. And it's a no-brainer as well. It's one of those that if you see the ROI and the fact that it pays for itself, then, you know, you're going to continue to enhance and adopt. But I think, again, SevenRooms is an ever-evolving platform. We want it to be an evolving platform with you as a business. So, you know, as your restaurant company grows, so does your usage of SevenRooms, and it sort of tailors to that. But I think, again, as your tech stack grows, it becomes much harder to keep on top of that. So again, it's sort of really just down to sort of understanding what is capable through expectations at the beginning, and just knowing that if you invest just a little bit of time at the start of the process, your life is a lot and infinitely easier as you go through that sort of life
A lot like a
cycle.
relationship.
Exactly, yeah.
Put the effort in at the start, then just wean off.
Yeah, but it's not always easy, that's for sure. And I think
Yeah, sorry. I'm an old romantic.
you talked about sort of automation, and I think that really is sort of core to a lot of what we're trying to focus on, is how can these features be implemented relatively seamlessly, set it and forget it, let it run in the background and, you know, tick over driving covers and revenue for you. And so again, I think that's really a big focus, is making sure that that is sort of structured from a product standpoint as well.
Yeah, and getting buy-in as well. Obviously, someone will buy your product, someone in a boardroom probably, or someone at a senior level will buy your product, but actually the people that touch it and use it every day are the people on the ground, right? The people that are doing all the hard yards, as it would be, the customer-facing people. And I think having their buy-in and having them kind of really invest in your product so they can see the ROI becomes really beneficial. I'm passing it over to TISSL down here, but I can't see you, sorry. But same question really, because obviously POS is a bit of a commodity, right? You've got to have POS, right? So it's not, adoption is almost a given, right? It's because they're going to use it every day. But what about everything else you build around it? How are you kind of driving people to make sure they're using your product in the way that it was built?
Yeah, I mean, adoption for us is a must, right? But it's kind of the process of adoption and the support that we give kind of during that phases, during those stages of adoption. I think you guys hit the nail on the head there with a usability. And when you said it's not just about kind of like the sales or the new kind of implementation process that you have with new customers, it kind of moves on from that. I'm actually really proud because TISSL has an amazing reputation with the amount of support we give for all our customers. And that's throughout our whole partnership. So that's from new sales to implementing new sites, whether you be a new customer or existing, whether it be onboarding new integrations, whether it be consultancy work. Our kind of support in adoption of whatever you're trying to do, whether that be to improve your business, where you're looking for, you know, you come to us looking for a new POS, or you're looking for us to say, you know, we're trying to achieve X, Y, and Z, what would you recommend? Kind of our level of support has always been of the highest quality, and we're always happy to kind of step in and kind of help you kind of with that and take some of that off of you as well. So just looking at kind of the new installation process, you know, we have a dedicated product manager. He literally will go through anything. His job is to keep everything moving on your behalf. So you guys can worry about running your business. And he, on our side, you know, or they will move the product forward for you. They'll speak to partners if you're like saying, you know, you're onboarding with us and, you know, these are the people we want to partner with and set up. You know, the level of support is incredibly up there, and it's all to make sure that adoption of our product and any change or anything that you're making goes as smoothly, as quickly as possible. And we'll always work alongside our customers and who we work with to make sure that, you know, it's going at their pace and it's working for them. And, you know, projects can get messy. They sometimes do. There's a lot of unknowns sometimes when switching out your EPOS or bringing in a new integration. And we've worked with our customers and said, right, well, let's just back away, let's work on it, let's come back. We know what we need to achieve, and then we come back and we have another go at it. And that's all to make sure that the adoption, when you hit the ground running, because it is so vital, that is right the first time, even if it takes a little bit longer, or even if we're able to kind of speed that up for you as well and get it in quicker. So.
Perfect. No, it's really interesting. And a few of you have mentioned support there, and James, I'm slinging it down to you down the end there. But support. How much support do operators need? Does it depend on the product sometimes? Does it depend? Because when I was talking to Andy Maynard, who's the CTO at Wagamama, God, don't I sound lofty? But I was talking to him about why would buy tech? What's the reason to do it? Why would he change? And top of his list really is about support, being on all the time, making sure there's no downtime, making sure that their teams are able to function. How much support are you having to provide around your product, and how important is it to your customers?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And Michael mentioned a word a few times when he was talking there, which is really key, which is partnership. And I think ultimately that's what ambitious, restaurateurs, hoteliers are looking for these days with tech providers. It's not just a transactional relationship. They're looking for a partnership where both parties are keen to grow and improve the nature of that. So with GiftPro, we've got clients who vary from one small pub, a local down the road, to restaurant groups and hotels with dozens, literally sometimes hundreds of locations, and that's why support is so important, because you have to tailor that to the individual client. So no two clients are going to be the same. This is the reason we've invested a lot this year in actual account management. So it's gauging where the client is at with their gifting currently, what their ambitions are, and what their knowledge is. Sometimes that can be an educational piece, it's showing them how to do it. Sometimes they have been around the block a dozen times, they know everything there is to know about gifting and selling gift cards, and in that case it's more consultative. But in terms of the actual support we offer, I mean, for almost 2,000 clients based across about 30 different countries, the amount of support queries we have is remarkably low, which I think is probably testament to
That's
usability.
good news, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But we've got multiple channels, so you can phone us, you can email us, you can live chat us. We also have a really useful help center, which is basically a library of how-to guides. So if you ever get stuck, redeeming from like the lowest level to how to redeem a voucher all the way up to how to integrate Facebook Pixel and which events it monitors. We've got guides for that. So there's various stages there in terms of the nature of your request, the nature of the business, and how we can best help you, really.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And I didn't ask you, Lauren, about adoption, but because it was really interesting watching, as I said already the week, watching how quickly I think they gained. I'm not doing a sales pitch for you, but it was interesting. It was 1,000 emails in a week of going live or something.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Because that adoption piece for. I think because when I was talking, real adoption is just not about adopting as in so it rolls out properly, but adopting so you're getting the benefit of the product.
It should be very easy to use for your customers. So if you see Sushi Dog, they launched, they tripled the amount of usage, already was live in no time. And that's also on support. It's 2024. You don't want to call someone or talk to someone to fix something. I mean, how much support you're getting when you post something on LinkedIn, right? You don't want to have a demo but you want to understand. So I don't know if there's any brands in there, but please visit me in the back, because we can set up an account in 5 minutes and you can get started. And that's what I see brands, also Aqua, by the way, started in no time, like 1 hour, got their emails in and get started. So that's the thing, is there is support. You have a success manager who will help you out, hold your hand. But to keep it very scalable for us, and also to keep the price good for hospitality, if you know what I mean. You need an intuitive system. You need to log in, be like on your own, make an account, connecting it to TISSL, Lightspeed, Captive Wi-Fi, Tech on Toast, whatever you want.
I don't have a product yet.
And just go. I think that's what you need to do.
No, it's very cool. Thank you, mate. And I think we were talking, at the end of the day, everyone's job here is customer experience, is to deal with customers, right, and look after them, make sure they have a great time. I think, from my understanding from talking to a lot of tech people over the years on the podcast and meeting lots of you guys just wandering around, actually the will is there to deliver great customer experience. But how much does it translate then back to the floor? For these guys when they're using products and using tech, because everything breaks, right? Apple breaks, Google breaks. Tech does break down, but the recovery of that and the relationship you hold with your customers is super important. Yeah. So I'll start with you there, Matt. How customer experience? How are you translating that back to, I suppose, the users?
The the proof is in the pudding because you're driving incremental spend, right? And being able to quantify that with the metrics and the data that we get from our banking and non-banking publishers, quantifying it in a way that actually, when we sit down with brands, to be fair, it's either right. I want more covers. I want to drive extra spend. I want to increase frequency. I want first-time diners, or actually, I want to target consumers that haven't come back in 12 months. So just having these clear metrics and just being very, very simple, and I think we're very good at having lots of data, and we pull off and just do really, really big reports. But actually, you look at it once. What are the actionable bits that you can take away from that?
Yeah, and who's it relevant to?
Yeah,
I used to get sent reports as an ops manager going, what the hell?
Yeah,
Like, it
what's
just
this?
wasn't relevant to me.
Is it a green number? Yes. Has it driven extra covers? Yes. Are they first-time diners? Yes. How did you do that? What were the channels that you used? What platforms or publishers were we on? We work with the likes of, challenger banks like, Revolut, Monzo, all the way up to American Express. Everybody wants a different audience. There are different brands that actually sit with different publishers. And ultimately, excuse me, as I said, the proof's in the pudding, right? If it drives covers, happy days. I mean, I don't want to oversimplify it, but that's kind of what it is,
keep
right?
it simple. I think that we'd all appreciate that.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's right. And same for you. Sorry, in the middle there, Mr. SevenRooms.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, in terms of whether it comes to support adoption throughout the hospitality sort of industry, there are very different layers, right? What the team on the floor need is very different to what the team in the office need, from marketing, from finance. So ensuring you have those channels for each sort of layer, I think is really important. So, I mean, one of the things that, obviously we've rolled out this year is live chat. And so, for those that are in operations, just want to be able to get on very quickly and just sort of send off that query from the iPad directly. Whereas, your finance team, your marketing team, it might be a little bit more of a case of really understanding what their needs are to a degree and helping them sort of carve that insight. And I think, like you said before, I think there's no one size fits all when it comes to any approach to any of the tech, that every operation is quite different. So it's just being able to sort of make sure that through that start of the partnership, you really understand, where they're coming from, what their pain points were, how can we support, where can we support, but making sure that the tools are there to use when they need them. So whether that's through webinars, through live chat, through training days. I think one thing that we've started doing globally, which is quite exciting, is sort of a masterclass with our partners. So ensuring that those, whether it's the host through to the CEO, comes down to actually understand how the product works at the core. What are the pain points? Have breakout sessions, and that's something that we're really excited to sort of see grow into 2025 as well.
I love it. And I think one of the things that you've all mentioned when I've spoken to you in the past, that a lot of you have people who've worked in the industry working for you now, right? Which is super key. Yeah, we know you worked at Gaucho. Oh, there you go. There you go. But I think it's super interesting that actually having we do recruitment obviously for hospitality tech now, and it's really interesting seeing the kind of people that not you guys, but a lot of the people starting to look for in terms of experience, in terms of understanding what goes on. And sorry, Jay, I was passing down to you on the next question, on the same question on customer experience, but it's super interesting. Yeah, sorry, I said James. But interesting to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. GiftPro is in quite a unique position, actually, because we can often facilitate the introduction to a hospitality brand, because you might love Aqua Nueva, I'm sure everyone here does now, and you'd buy your loved one a gift voucher for it, but they might never have heard of it, and first impressions count. So we place a really high emphasis on quality and brand consistency. I think there's a stat out there somewhere, something like consistent branding is attributed to something about a 24% increase in revenue. So when you receive a voucher which is fulfilled by GiftPro, you don't know that's been sent by GiftPro. It is branded to the supplier, that individual restaurant, that individual hotel, and it's a high quality, because that sort of consciously or unconsciously, that can be a microcosm of the expectations for the recipient in terms of what they're going to receive. If they receive a tatty piece of paper or something that's been obviously created on a Word document, they're not going to have high expectations. They're less likely to actually come in and ultimately redeem a gift voucher, which is important, because there's two ways to look at it with gifting. One side is you tend to see around 20 to 25% of gift vouchers sold are never redeemed, which makes it a massively profitable area of business to grow. But from that sort of restaurateur's, hotelier's perspective, the bigger lifetime value is to actually make that customer come in, give an amazing experience. They can both become a long-term customer and potentially also buy gifts, recommend your establishment to other people. So yeah, that first impression counts, and we carry that on with the online store as well. If you see, you're purchasing something online and it's a really shoddy, poor, slow checkout process, you're not going to go ahead and purchase. A long online checkout, people just drop out. So again, really high value on that usability, that brand consistency, and those first impressions, because I think 60% of people who are long-term customers of a business, 60% of people who have purchased a gift voucher will become long-term customers of that business.
Yeah, 100%.
You need to make yourself in that 60%, not in that 40%.
Yeah, and someone was telling me the stats the other day, what the gift carding is worth as an industry. It's insane. I don't know it. You probably do.
Billions.
Billions, there you go. That'll do. We'll cover that. So, and Michael, I missed you out there. We're just talking about customer experience, product. Because we've got the final question after this one, so I want to give TISSL their last chance to shine here. But it's really interesting the way that POS is built in. There's POS options out there now. There's a lot, right? So there's a lot. Yeah. There's a lot of options in POS, and standing out from that crowd and being able to deliver that kind of service on a full-rounded product is super important, right? How are you guys doing that?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's usability, really. For us, it's all about the members of staff, no matter if they're floor staff, if they're servers, if they're management, if they're, guys up in the office doing all the data analytics. It has to work for them. It has to enable them to do their job. So we've put usability and the ease of the use and kind of, that empowerment to do whatever they need to do first. So that's number one priority. So it is incredibly simple and intuitive to use on the ground floor, on the front end, on the till side, which we call the front of house, and then the back of house, where you got all your reporting and your management set up. That is kind of completely all empowered to you guys, and it's not, like a million different pages and looks like, I don't know, Windows 97 or anything like that. To get your head around it, it is incredibly simple, really easy, once again, to kind of, make it as usable as possible, really.
The worrying thing there is that Windows 97, I'm probably the only person in the room that knows what that is. But
come to the floppy disk.
There you go. Look, super interesting. I think before we get to go and touch the product down the back of the room there, let's just ask you guys one final question. You are the so-called experts on the screen and behind me here. What does next year look like, not just about your product, but generally in terms of tech? I thought it was really interesting to talk about personalization. You've mentioned, how did you word it? Sorry, Michael, you were talking about the way people access the product and use it, usability. Yeah. All those different things I think are absolutely key. And Lawrence, you just said there about, in 2024, we shouldn't have to be jumping through third-party tech and kind of doing sign-ups here and there and everywhere. What does it look like, do you think? We'll start with you, Lawrence, for next year. What do you think customers are expecting in terms of technology, generally?
So, like trends, or what do you?
Yeah. Should have said trends.
So there's a danger in the word trends because I make music, right? Yes.
I've heard it.
Yeah. So I'm a DJ.
It's more noise, but yeah.
I make hardstyle. If you're interested, go look it up. It's very Dutch and very loud.
You got CDs to sell as well?
Yeah, I got some CDs in the back, LPs as well. Anyway, so what I've learned in music is that when you follow trends, you're always too late. Yeah. So it's like, people want rock in EDM, and then someone else is already doing it, and they want that. So what very interesting to know is that if you really want to understand what's coming, you have to talk to people, have to listen to the crowd, have to see how the crowd is responding, reacting. So just it's those small things to understand what people actually want, so where they respond to, what they say they want, what they respond to. It's very interesting. So, and we try to do that as well, Piggy. So we're not kind of in our office in Amsterdam just making tech, but just I'm here all the time and listening and seeing what is wildly interesting what's going on here in the UK, I must say. And then make small iteration on the product we already have, which is, I believe it's already kind of, quite good. To be honest, but to make small iteration and grow, and I think it has to do with personalization and make it actually work within within the tech stack you're having.
No,
So integrations and usability, and it's just small things. It's not like one thing. It's got to be AI or something like that. It's going to.
I knew that word was going to get said, but
Yeah.
no, it's super interesting, right? Because I do think you're entirely right that actually talking to people who actually work in the business rather than guessing in your ivory tech tower, trying to work out what's going to happen is super important because the more and more we meet operators, the more and more they're telling us, yeah, we just need simplicity. We don't need you to. The features are great, right? They love features, but the reality is keep us on all the time, keep it simple. Thank you, my friend. And we do love your music. Follow on Instagram, everyone. It's hardcore techno. If you're into that, you'll love him. Matt, are you into hardcore techno?
Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah. Yeah, I think, look, from my side and just obviously where we sit from a CLO perspective, I mentioned it earlier, and Johnny and the team, we've got a demonstration in terms of instant incentivization. Essentially, let's get hospitality back to where it was, right? Let's get back to cover growth and actually collectively, from an integrations perspective, all find ways of working together. One of the exciting pieces that we've got is, as I said, is instant incentivization through EPOS, which we've got a terminal and we'll show you. But I just think, from a hospitality perspective, it's about making sure all of the tech partners work together collaboratively. And it's a nice opportunity to be able to sit here and say some of those integrations can be challenging, but it doesn't need to be. And I think, we're all here to support hospitality in a way that, one, enhances the customer experience, but also, as I said earlier, drives covers and drives revenue back to hospitality. But from 2025, from our side, incentivization through tacticality and personalization, automating that so that if I go to a steak restaurant and I've been to a certain... I always fall back on steak. I don't know why. It's 25
right.
years.
It's your happy place.
It is my happy place. But just if I've been to a certain steak restaurant, I'm not going to use any names, but... I should be incentivized because I like steak, and if I haven't been to this particular restaurant, here's an incentive to go. I always do it better with names, but yeah, I mumbled a bit there. I think really from just to finish off, what I want to do with Krowd is I want to be an extension of brands marketing, so that when we sit down with marketing managers, directors, CMOs, CFOs, they actually then turn around and say, actually, I'm going to put 25% of the marketing budget towards going after incremental spend, and I want to incentivize card members with American Express or wherever. So there's a lot to do, right?
Always.
And just to finish up, we should all just probably work together and just open up
That's
our
what
APIs
you're doing today, right?
and do that, right?
No, you're all here today as a bunch of partners who are joined up, right? Which is the partnership side of tech. I think has been super interesting in the last couple of years, especially where the way it's grown. Sorry, moving on.
No, I mean, I think it is interesting. I think the fact that, and from an operator standpoint, that ultimately is what they want. As the tech stack grows, they don't want to have to manually use every single one. They want it to all speak to each other, which is completely fair, and ensuring that it is then adopted and used. I think one thing that I mentioned at the very beginning is that, again, from the consumer side, what we're looking at from sort of we launched a national restaurant trends survey earlier this year, and what is very clear is that obviously value, yes, is one thing, but what value means to the consumer does vary, and that's not necessarily the price point. Kind of, you talked about the discount piece earlier. There's a lot more to value. Personalization comes into it, so how you perceive the value from a venue is more than just a price point, and I think that's a big part of ensuring that the tech plays up to that, and making sure that as we grow, that we facilitate those things like personalization, and how can we sort of help the restaurants use the software to sort of really drive that personalized touch. As you said, at the end of the day, hospitality is a people industry. How you utilize that information is what is going to let you stand out. I know you are sort of concerned about the whole AI piece, but again, someone's got to talk about it. I think.
No, not concerned. I think there's some confusion between AI and automation.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people say, can we have AI, please? But what they mean is, can we automate a process? And that's not necessarily AI, right? And it's just,
No.
I think ChatGPT at the moment is the most commonly used piece of AI, right? That everybody's probably got in their pocket today.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think, it's interesting to understand what use cases might appear next year potentially that will impact that.
Yeah, and I mean, AI at its core, I think what we found is 1 in 4 restaurants these days are using AI in some shape or form, predominantly when it comes to things like staffing, hiring, marketing collateral, even menu development. We're seeing a lot of AI use there as well. So it's not going away. It's just how you harness it. And I think, again, how as tech platforms, AI comes into it is something that we definitely get asked quite a lot. But automation is huge. I think that fact is that how can you set up something and not have to worry about it, let it run seamlessly in the background for you, which is where sort of our marketing automation side of the product really lives, ensuring that you're re-engaging with your guests. And I think that people want to be heard. That's one of the biggest things. So, when it comes to AI, how can that be used to, respond and analyze your feedback and your sentiment from guests that come to your restaurant? And I think that, being able to sort of consolidate that in one platform is really important.
And who knows, maybe next year we'll have an AI platform rather than us.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people might prefer that. And moving down to you, James, on the end there. Same question to you, my friend. What do you think is coming next year?
Yeah, so
Generally.
I think the guys have done a really good job on automations and integrations. I think probably specific to the market we're in, it's probably personalization and more routes to market as well. So personalization, I guess, can mean two things. It can mean personalization in terms of that rich customer data that allows you to build out that customer profile and make them lifelong customers, targeting them, which the guys have spoken about already. But it can also mean the actual experience that your guests enjoy. And with gifting, we're in quite a lucky position because you generally buy a gift voucher for someone that you know. And if you know somebody, you are uniquely well placed to give them a really good personal experience. So we have been pioneers in the video messaging industry. So you can actually add a video message to a gift card when you purchase it online, which we play to the recipient. And that's completely personal. You can't get that any other way, really. But that doesn't mean that that's it for the scope. It could be that if somebody doesn't choose to add a video message, we could default back to a welcome message from that particular restaurant saying, can't wait to see you here, can't wait to give you this amazing experience, and almost give you that personal pre-welcome, which would be unique and really sets the tone for what they can expect when they come in. And the other side of that, routes to market. Everyone, I think, in this room would want to make more money, and our clients are very much in that boat. So GiftPro, as hopefully some of you see down the demo area at the back soon, GiftPro really specializes in helping you to drive your direct revenue, but we've got really big plans in helping you to really push your gift vouchers and extend that reach through partnerships and integrations with some of the leaders out there in the market already.
Great, thank you. And final word to our friends at TISSL here. Michael, what do you think next year? Because obviously I know you guys have been busy building Swift. Good timing with Taylor being in the country as well.
TISSL.
But so what does it look like for you guys next year?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I'm with Lawrence on this one, actually. You mentioned something quite interesting when you said you don't like the word...
Saying that with such shock.
I think I hope I took it the right way, but you said you don't really like the word trends, and neither do we, really. We like to see what are driving the trends, and that, from my experience, comes up with what the challenges are facing. Because in my head, trends come and go quite sudden. They'll come up, it's a trend, and then it's kind of dropped. But the challenges, they remain. And I think that's what drives it. And I think what happens with trends is they come on to try and address the challenge, and they don't work. And everyone, jumps on the bandwagon, and then it doesn't work, and it goes away for something else to come up. And when you're an EPOS provider and you're such a core, fundamental part of a restaurant business, you can't spend your time chasing trends or jumping and changing left, right, and center. You have to really look at the root cause of the challenges and what's actually going on to make them want to act, to make that decision and work alongside them to actually say, well, is that the right decision for you? Is that how it's going to work? Is it going to, fit you in the long run with your long-term plans? So I think for us, looking in 2025, I think what we're trying to see is, again, it just goes back to those challenges that we've been speaking about for the last 45 minutes or so, which is to do with cost saving, usability, personalization, ease. I'm not going to repeat all of them, all over again, because I think you're probably bored at this point, hearing all the same things being talked over. But all of these things come in the form of like consolidation, and that's across the board. So consolidation in integrations. You're looking for a package, something that will come along and they all work together seamlessly and is automated, and they all enable each other to bring out the best in each other in terms of the systems, right? You don't want to have systems that are conflicting with each other because, that onboards, onto you guys, doesn't make your lives easier, doesn't make anyone's lives easier. So I think consolidation in kind of integrations, in packages, in solutions, which is why, sorry to sound like a proper Swiftie, but that's why we came up with Swift at the end of the day. It's taking all of those different areas and putting it into one to kind of cut out all the different noise.
If you don't start dropping your marketing with Taylor Swift songs, I'll be very disappointed. Look, brilliant. Thank you, guys. We really appreciate it. Has anybody scanned the QR code? Do we know if there's any Slido? Oh, yes, we have. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. This is tech working seamlessly. Oh, yeah, dropped off. Oh, slowly. Yep. Oh, God, we have a lot. Right, okay. Here we go. So Amit's asked a question here. How do we drive customer engagement and gamification through loyalty CRM, targeting loyalty and non-members with a campaign and push notifications via app and wallet? I think that might be you. I know, yeah. Maybe that's an answer for the back, but...
Yeah, but can you separate it?
Yeah, well, but let's just do how do you drive customer... How do you drive customer?
There's a language barrier here.
How about just driving customer engagement and gamification through your loyalty program?
Okay, so it starts with getting people on board and start segmentation straight from the start. So what venue did you sign up? Maybe a form asking a little bit more information, checking all that information and start engaging very gradually, like slowly, because it's all a game of reciprocity. So you can ask a lot of things up front.
You said there was a language barrier.
Reciprocity. Wederkerigheid. That's in Dutch.
Okay, yeah, no.
So yeah, nobody knows that one. So so reciprocity. So you ask a little bit of information, and you give something in return, because you need to have like it needs to be like
push and pull.
Push and pull.
Yeah.
So and then once you're in a engagement program, loyalty program, you start at a specific tier maybe that gives you some benefits, and you will inform someone, hey, you got some benefits, and then you ask a little bit more, where you're from, what's your favorite site, what's your favorite topping, are you working in an area, do you live in an area, what's your date of birth, and that's kind of what's happening, and then gradually you grow your, let's say, your CRM with very customized. Very customized situation, and then at a certain point you're able to automate certain processes that feel very personal. It's like an example from Wayne's Coffee. It's like a great coffee chain in Sweden, by the way, 200 sites, very exciting. I think Ori does the same. Is that a birthday campaign sounds a bit boring, but you can make them very like in person. So what you can do is, Chris, it's your birthday next week. We know your favorite coffee is the flat white. We know you drink it with almond milk because you're vegan. Yeah, you do. You do now. I know your favorite site is the one in Soho. So we got this thing waiting for you, which is a flat white, blah, 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 blah. And you can scan it at a POS, you can scan it at a click and collect, so it all connects. And then it feels much more personal. And then, hey, this company knows me, and it knows what I like, and then I'll give something in return, which is a visit. And then maybe 2 days before your birthday, you get, hey, by the way, we got some cakes. You can buy them as well. Click here, order it here. So yeah,
now you've got me.
I hope I answered the question.
No, I think you have, and I think for me, simply, it's the digitalization of what used to be the corner bar mentality. Before we had tech at all, if you go into a bar in Boston, they'd kind of sling your pint down the bar to you and it'd land in your hand. Because they knew you, right? Because you go there every day after work, you're their best friend, the bartender's your best mate, he tells you all about his relationship problems, everything that's going on. But what we've had to do in hospitality, I think, is digitalize that process, so that relationship where you start with gathering small information, but you build that relationship up. I think that's what's driving engagement, as people feel connected to the personalization and to the information you're gathering.
One thing, there was notifications as well.
Yes, that was on there.
Yeah, you can just join one of the programs here in London, maybe the one of Sushi Dog, and then you see how they notify you. So geo-tracking, hey, you're near a site, hey, your new credit balance, hey, you reached a new tier, blah, blah, blah. And you can also see all the automated emails. So when you leave one of the sites, you get a feedback form that asks you some questions. Hey, what's your experience? You just visited the Soho location or Kensington or whatever. Please tell us about your experience. You get 20 points. So also just try it out. Just look at maybe your competition that's using it, or maybe some examples, and then you see the notification and engagement that they do.
Thank you, Lawrence. It was very good. Right, we've only got time for one more. Let me think here.
We'll just let Lawrence answer.
Yeah. As long as he says reciprocity. What is your experience in the best way to capture data? So this is probably something you could all kind of pitch into, but we need to be pretty succinct. So what's the best way to capture data, customer data?
I think there, like you said, there are so many channels. I think obviously being, partly a booking platform at SevenRooms. That's definitely one key element is, capturing data straight from the off there, but also ensuring you have other sort of platforms and tools around that, whether it's, an email sign-up form. I think one of the biggest challenges for walk-in restaurants is how do you capture valuable data? And again, so whether it's using sort of a virtual walk-in wait list to ensure that the guests are opting in to sort of, at least put their name and number down. But I think, beyond that, one of the things that SevenRooms should be used as is also just a tool to capture and write notes on the profile. I think Will Gadara from sort of the unreasonable hospitality piece, I think is will never sort of go out of style. Like you said, again, hospitality is all about the people, and capturing that insight on the floor and noticing, oh, it's so and so's birthday on table 12. Let's make sure we go above and beyond. That might not have been on the information from the booking, but you can still derive a lot of information there, and as long as it's captured in the right way, it lives on the profile. You can then really start building out that shape of who the guest is.
Very cool. Sorry, Michael wanted to reply. Then you can. Go on, Michael.
No, very quickly, I was just going to say, I think it really goes back as well to what you find valuable, because you get customer data, but you get different types of customer data, right? And you get different tools that will actually capture the different areas of the customer data, whether that be signing on the Wi-Fi, whether it be the reservation and preferences from SevenRooms, whether it be what they're ordering and what they're spending their money on in the POS. So once again, it goes back to making sure that your data is accessible, making sure that you know exactly what data it is that you're looking for and how it's going to be valuable to you, because you dictate what data is valuable and what's not valuable. And making sure you get all that information. So those integrations and those tools that you've identified, they need to communicate to each other. You need to utilize them to their fullest. And you need to be able to tell us, the partners, and yourselves and everything, what exactly you require. And that's how we've got kind of the current integration with, I think, yourself, SevenRooms. It's two-way, and it's got all the live sales data and everything. So you get all the customer information, you get all the lovely preferences, and you also get the live information of what they're spending their money on, which is always fun.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Sorry to cut you off there. Matt, final thought from you then on the customer data.
I was just going to approach you from a different perspective, because in terms of what we do, we don't need name, telephone number, email address. Everything is done through banking cards now. The fact that gone are the days where you used to have the TFL card. What was it called?
Oyster card.
Oyster card, yeah. So it's not even a thing now, right? Everything's just done
again.
through
Windows 97.
Yeah,
Oyster card. I'm your man.
I'm 40 plus now, so but I think that yes, absolutely, having customer data is important. I think, but we've come a very long way in the fact that actually you can still do tacticality, personalization without giving away too much as well. And I come from an old school mentality, particularly at Gaucho, where it was like collect. And actually, what do you do with it, right? And I think, moving forward, it is all about these integrations and sharing and making sure that, we are able to offer something that actually the customer wants and the guest wants. And we're all different. We all eat differently. We all sit in, we all go out in large parties, small parties. So it's just making sure that the information and everything that's coming through to you is relevant to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, guys. A little round of applause for our panel here, please. Thank you very much. You've got time for a little break and grab some food, but please head to the back to see the guys down there and have a go on some of these products and actually talk to the guys a bit more in depth. Particularly Lawrence about his techno will be in the far corner. But thank you very much for listening, and shall we see you all in an hour or so. All right, guys, we're going to crack on while you're all meandering over. Everyone enjoy the food? That's good. Ben, we're okay. Good. Everyone enjoyed the food. And welcome back. I hope you all had a chance to have a go and look at the product over there. We are joined by our expert panel, according to the slide. Is this correct, guys? Yes? They're all nodding. Good. Let's one by one, let's just introduce yourselves. Say who you are and what you do. We'll start with you there, Elliot.
Hi, I'm Elliot from 1 Lombard Street. I'm the GM there. I've got a bit of a different role to most GMs, quite autonomous. And the owner kind of leaves me alone, which is quite nice.
When you're doing well, or?
yeah, fortunately, we're doing quite well at the moment. So it's nice to meet all the people that we've had here today, from people where I wouldn't have met. And yeah, it's been an exciting day. So thank
Welcome,
you for
my friend. Hello, Izzy. How are you?
Hello, I'm very well. My name's Izzy. I'm operations manager for El Pastor. We are also doing really well. But
is it going to be like this?
No. No, I mean, I think it was really interesting listening to the experts in the last panel, knowing that there's similar struggles across the industry in terms of covers and spend per head and trying to get that penny on every table. It's just money that's sitting there waiting to be taken.
Yeah, it's a challenge I think you're all sharing. And Nick, nice to meet you.
Go on. I'm Nick. I look after bars and stock and procurement for Barafina Group. And I think I'm here because I've recently done quite a big tech stack review for the whole of the group.
And you're still alive, so it's gone okay, right? All right, we'll move on to that bit in a minute. And Ben, nice to meet you.
Hi everyone, I'm Ben. I'm head of global digital marketing for Aqua, and I think I'm here so you guys had somewhere to be today.
Wow, so cynical. Anyway, you're entirely right. Right, so first of all, before we get into everything, I think we'll set the scene a little bit because, as you just mentioned, Izzy, there perfectly, seamlessly. The challenges we face day to day in operations are varied, but I think pretty much evergreen. I was doing it about 20 years ago, and I think you guys are still suffering from the same problems. Sorry about that. I tried my best. But do you want to just run through kind of what you are facing in terms of whether it be customer expectations or traffic through the restaurant doors? How are things at the moment compared to obviously the P word that was mentioned on the last panel, the pandemic? How are things at the moment? How does it feel in terms of day-to-day challenges? I'll start with you, Izzy, since you've got the mic there.
Yeah, the day-to-day challenges are, like you said, it's kind of hospitality hasn't changed a lot over the years. We're still trying to just provide great guest experience, from pen and paper to all of these amazing softwares and systems that we have in place. Like, we're just trying to make that shift, delivering it to our teams in the best way possible, making sure that they're using it to the best of its ability. I think there's still so much room there in terms of training and making sure that our partnerships are working in the ways that they should be working. There's a lot of middlemen or people, and it's difficult to translate that message across everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, in your role, because you're looking after a team directly, right, who are customer facing. Mm-hmm. Has it changed much since I'm only talking about the pandemic because the digitalization after the pandemic shot up, obviously. Everything moved a bit quicker. Do you feel like it's helped you or hindered you almost? Because it's a really interesting school of thought, right, that actually that tech is great and obviously it's an enabler, but sometimes if it's not installed properly or the relationships aren't there, it becomes more difficult. How has that been for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's like huge advantages and huge disadvantages as well. If you don't get the buy-in of your team, you can't make anything work. And sometimes you need to really convince people and persuade people that what you're trying to make happen as a business is going to be in their best interest at the end of the day. And yeah, I think we've learned a lot since P word, and
let's just call it the P word, yeah.
I think as an industry we're growing and finding a lot more tools in order to translate that to great experiences. But
No, I've got 3 kids. I have to influence them on a daily basis, which is very difficult. So I understand running a few restaurants would be even more harder. But on challenges, Nick, straight to you. What does it look like in terms, because you're in a role where you're looking after, I suppose, more of the, is it kind of more the logistics side of the business?
Yeah, I mean, day to day, I now try and stay away from teams in the nicest possible way and let kind of...
I do that with the kids, but they just keep coming home.
Managers do their... look after their teams and their sites and support them. I think challenge-wise, operationally, it's equipping people to give real meaningful hospitality. And I think the kind of challenge of for us and for tech is making people's life easier, and ultimately meaning that better hospitality is delivered and people leave going, I've really invested my time and my money in something which was a positive experience for me, and not trying to detract from that and not putting hurdles in their way and just making it as smooth and as beautiful as we all know it can be, right? When hospitality is done well, it's beautiful, it's really meaningful, and trying to do that consistently for a lot of people as often as possible.
And I think you're not rare, but I think there's, not you, but your role, because that one source of truth I always talk about when you're trying to develop tech or roll tech out within a business, it's quite unique, isn't it, to have someone who's solely in charge of that? And I imagine for the other people in the business that must give some support, knowing actually we've all got an opinion, but actually it's all on you.
Yes, it was interesting. We actually don't have that role as a group, and Izzy and I work for the same group, Hearts Group. but I kind of took it on in the tender process for TISSL, and as a result, I think the concept of tech stack to a group of our size was quite a new concept, I think. We had a lot of tech or products that we were using. I don't think we ever really considered it as a thing as an entity before the latest review that we did. So I think that's been quite a learning curve. Sorry, what was your question specifically?
No, that was exactly that. No, I was just asking about the fact that actually managing that job centrally sometimes is often done by a general manager or potentially or an ops director or whatever it might be.
So we're actually now trying to decentralize it, ironically, and I think the setup and getting it right was really important. I think we've chosen stuff that seems to be working really well for us, and we're super happy about that and excited. But actually, it's now just equipping people to use it and trying to not, I said this while we were having a chat before, not spend so much time talking about tech and just using it to the best of its ability, and trying to just give it to general managers and go, hopefully these are the best tools for the job. Use it.
Go and break it.
Just run a restaurant, and hopefully that you have as few hurdles as possible, and not spend so much time kind of building something or
100%. It's great. And actually, Ben, in your role, what challenges? I just had a brief chat before we came on stage, so I won't go into that detail. But what kind of challenges are you facing?
In what way? Sorry.
Just day to day in your role. What's changed for you over the last few years, and what are you coming up against?
I mean, I've not been in hospitality for a few years, to be perfectly honest. And what was eye-opening for me is, because we're obviously on this subject of tech stack, etc., is how far behind hospitality is from the rest of the world.
What was your background then? Sorry, before this.
I've done everything. Right. E-commerce. I worked in a very similar booking journey environment before this as well, in an entertainment space. And I think it's probably to do with the fact that, especially certainly in our group, that there's so many different moving parts. Essentially, we're viewing our restaurants as completely separate businesses. So having addressing that as a tech challenge in a one-size-fits-all when they're all moving in very different directions is a challenge. Haven't been through similar things in a career before. The other one is a challenge that you almost face internally, is being able to make the right decision, because there's nothing that's ever going to be perfect, right?
No, never.
There's always going to be a trade-off. You have to at some point accept that you're not going to get everything that you wanted from it. But the worst part can be standing still whilst making that decision.
Yeah, I think someone once told me no one ever stands still. You're either moving forward or backwards, right? So, and it's a really clear message, particularly with tech, because I totally agree. I don't think you're ever going to go, this is the 100% correct solution for our business. It's going to tick every box. It's like a bit like operations, right? Operations, you can try your best every day, but people will sometimes let you down, right? Through being ill, being sick, not being on their game that day, so things can happen. So I do agree. I think it's a challenge. And thank you, Ben. And Elliot, is it the same for you? Because you've got this autonomous position that you have where you run, no one bothers you all day. You get to hang out and do your thing.
Well, it is a double-edged sword. And I think the thing is one, I think the big thing with tech for us is that we talk about integrations, we talk about things that are working together and whatnot, but we need to stop talking about that. We need to talk about synergy. We need to talk about how things move from one system to another system and make the job of someone that is paid minimum wage, let's be serious, easy, ascertainable. Are they delivering the best time? Are they enjoying what they're doing? And every single time it needs to go back to, how do we make our guest happy? How do we make our employee happy? Are we making the till system quick, fast? Are we making the fact that they can take a booking and they can move it onto a table, then they can, do all of these sort of things with pace without having to stress, because that's not fun. Everyone knows about hospitality being stressful. I mean, if we want to talk about integrations, we can talk about integrations with chefs. That's not a good integration. They're quite grumpy people. But I think the main thing with everything within challenges and tech within it, the more simplistic, the more clean, the easier it is to do, because at the end of the day, the easiest option always gets to be done. A great example for us is when you log onto your till and you open a new table, it asks how many covers on the table. The waiter always clicks 1. Okay,
Can I just say that's been going on since I was in the business, and genuinely, that's a long time ago.
Yeah. And so we actually pull the data from SevenRooms. So it'd be great. Like now, where the table pre-populates, we don't have to worry about that. We've removed a step.
Because that single cover will affect average spend. And all
100%.
that.
Yeah. And then more accurate data, and then we're going on to the point where you guys do quite a lot, in finding that extra penny, that pound, and pushing forward.
And how do you? I'll go to Izzy here. How do you communicate that kind of, because the granular detail is quite interesting for me with technology, because obviously the tech partners will build product to serve what they think is a problem. So they will have smart people looking around, looking what problems are in hospitality. But what you're talking about there is quite granular detail that actually is occurring daily. And you talked about the pennies before when you first opened up, about just grabbing those extra pennies. Do you think the products are starting to represent some of the granular detail that you want to fix in your business, or are we on a journey?
We're definitely halfway through a journey,
right?
For sure. We're not at the destination yet, but like some of the systems that we currently use, we can give our staff who are on the junior levels an idea of how the business, state it is right now and what state we want it to be in. We can set so many targets from using SevenRooms, TISSL, Yumpingo, and we can give people stats. And it's not just a question of, we think you're making people happy anymore. Like, you've actually achieved this, and this is
you've got bent markers now that can tell them how far they've gone.
And it allows them to know that, like, okay, the business isn't just going to keep ticking along, and this is somewhere that I'll be in 10 years' time, and just sort of take that for granted. Like, they realise that every action they're taking on the table is going to turn into pound signs in their pocket, in the business's pocket, and mean that they have a job for themselves. And
it's the fine line, right, between experiential dining and making a profit, right, in a business. And most people who run their own restaurants, literally their own restaurant, will say, you must be mad to do this, because it's very hard work and there's not a lot of profit at the end of it. But it's super interesting. Nick's nodding away there. But is it the same for you, Nick, that you see that, I suppose, in terms of when you're looking at a tech stack, or when you've reviewed products that you're looking at, or even in your role dealing with the logistics side of the business, are we getting to the crux of your problems that you're trying to fix? Big question, I know.
Yeah, I think we have access to a lot more information now. A lot more, like vast amounts of information compared to when I started in the industry and even a couple of years ago, which is amazing. It's super interesting. I spend a lot of my time still analysing stuff on Excel and working out, small incremental changes and trying to, I guess, not just go with romantic notions on how to decide what to do with a business. There's a lot of information.
Yeah, we used our gut for a long time.
And it got us, incredibly far. There's a lot of really successful businesses that are still run like that in hospitality. But it's very difficult to do on scale, I think. And it's not always sustainable. I think now, actually, it's trying to work out what information to look at and actually how to best view it, and not just be overwhelmed by all of this stuff that we're absorbing now. And we're not an industry built on data, and we're very quickly trying to learn to use it to the best of its ability and capitalize on it.
And that's a beautiful segue, actually, because Ben, you come from an industry that probably was using data in a more advantaged way, would you say, in terms of, or more mature in terms of using data?
Yeah, nearly every industry I've worked in has been better with data than what I did. It's when I took this role, the person that was in it before said, like, almost on his way out, said, "Don't get lost in the numbers," which is, I've come from a numbers background, but I think there is something in that, because, and I'm making maybe the same mistake, which I'm chasing a lot of information and data, but is it actually going to affect the decisions we're making? And really, when you are, if you come from like a data analyst background, your whole thing is to try and make it simple.
It's your job.
Yeah. That's all we're trying to do. And I think actually the products I'm seeing, everything that we're trying, is probably complicating it.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting, right? Because there's always a different hospitality, as you've always just said, was built on gut feeling and built on atmosphere and experiential. And there's a very, TGI Fridays just in the news this week that they're about to go into administration, and that they were one of the best casual dining brands. I know very different to what you guys do, but very different casual dining brands in the 90s and the 2000s who were leading the way, and they've really lost their way over the last 3 years. But I think it's down to a lot to do with customers as well, because the customer has changed. And I think, Elliot, I don't know if you see this amongst your business and what you're doing every day, but how much are you seeing a change in the person you're serving in front of you these days and what they want from you, I suppose?
I'm the worst person to ask for that.
You don't talk to them?
No. The reason why is I work in the city, one on Lombard Street's in the bank, so Monday to Friday, we get the same people through the door every day. It's on a corporate Amex, and our experience, our building of our business is on the experience, making sure it's quick, it's fast, it's seamless, they have a good time. Our growth on customers coming in and being changing was looking at the algorithms and saying, right, we're spending all this money on trying to fill up Saturday and Sundays, and we're spending it in the city where there is no one. So we started working out where people were coming from, and then, you know what, Chelmsford, we're going to smash you with a big advertising budget, and that worked very, very well from us. So we use data and working out the hotspots where people were coming from to come in, and it worked. I mean, worked very well. That's why I'm quite lucky.
No, but I think you're still understanding that consumer behavior, whether it is even being predictable doesn't make it easy, right?
No,
because it can drop off. And I think understanding I hate to use the word trend and get told off by Lawrence again, but understanding those trends and the way they behave is super important. Izzy, what are you seeing in terms of customers within your business? Is there a change in the way they might want to order or the way they want to approach how the order journey is now? Because obviously when you move from QSR all the way up to what you guys do, there's a real shift in behavior there. Do you guys see the same or not?
Yeah, I think coming from our past store where we are sort of premium casual, we have a delightfully diverse range of customers and where they're coming from and how much they're spending. And our biggest struggle is making everybody feel welcome and having a menu that suits all. And so it is also really hard to predict what people are going to be doing with their money, which is why as well it's so important that we have a great tech stack where we can compile everything together and find ourselves an average. Because if you just work in the restaurants every day, it seems totally unpredictable and you have this crazy idea of what we should be serving.
Yeah, I've been in lots of restaurant chains where we've made decisions based on one complaint that day. You know? For Colucci's, we took pasta fagioli off the menu, which was Antonio's favourite dish, because no one was ordering it. Guess what? Everyone complained the week after because we'd taken it off, because even though they didn't order it, they loved it being on there because it was one of his original dishes. So those kind of gut decisions sometimes, to your point, Ben, actually, is totally wrong sometimes so it's about using enough data to make great decisions.
But also at the same time, if you take away these gut decisions, then the creativity of the chef and also sometimes your mistakes in making instinctual decisions can actually prove to you that maybe it was right. And I would never want to take that away from the operations of a restaurant, because sometimes you're surprised by the unexpected.
Yes. Well, I always say people always surprise you, right? People will. But I think the same now with data, that actually, even though you may have trends, that occasionally there'll be a blip for a reason. There's something's happening that you probably knew about in your gut, but now the data's proving it, which comes out. I'm interested to know, actually, in terms of how nimble and agile can you be then because obviously you've got this newish tech stack. How nimble can you be? So you've got data telling you one thing to do, it's telling you this is happening, you thought it was happening. Can you change menus quite quickly, or can you address that fairly rapidly?
I think it's good timing of your question, because we recently changed our menu that we hadn't...
I did my homework.
We hadn't touched in months and maybe years. And I think the idea behind that move is just sort of trial and error. Like, we're in a position now where we've seen a pretty steady trend of spend per head kind of going down and just being around the same spot that we know that we can do better. And so we just wanted to do something semi-radical, not that was going to totally flip the boat and all of our restaurants are empty in a day, but something that kind of motivates us to keep making more
and it's like that A/B testing
adjust.
you can do now with menus as well. Like you can, change a dish, see what happens, then go back if you need to, right? Or put it on a special, whatever it might be. And that leads me to the tech decision making, because obviously, Nick, you're now in charge of. Well, you're not. So you're not in charge of it. It's just landed on your plate, right? Is that the right way to say?
Yeah.
Are you the tech guy?
I think so.
Sorry, I didn't ask, but I was meant to ask you a question. I was wittering. What leads you to that point of buying? How did you come to this point where you wanted to buy a new part? Sort out the parts, sort out all the other bits. What led you there?
If you haven't been to Barafina, it's like a countertop dining concept, however you want to look at it. And we have specials that we change every day. So we have 10 specials generated by the chefs, and that's done by managers on site. And so we need something that's very hard to break and very easy to put in meaningful stuff that we can look at on a centralized level. And that's quite a unique problem, it turns out, when you start talking to EPOS providers particularly, because a lot of them can get very complicated and therefore easy to break, and then centrally you have to fix a lot of mistakes. The reason we kind of got to the point of changing is we didn't have that. So we had a lot of restaurants that were quite stressed just operating day to day, which is obviously not what we want because it's not conducive to then giving amazing guest experience. And also, I think from the top, we just weren't getting the information we wanted, or we were spending too much time processing it. And I think those two combined, if it's not easy to sell things to people, or it's taking too much time, and you don't really know what's happened in the restaurant sitting in the office, it's time to look at what options are out there. And I think with this grand maturity of hospitality and tech, there was a lot more available than maybe was the last time we looked at it. And we're spoiled
I'd
for
love to know what
choice.
that process looks like, though. How do you go out to market and find these chaps or a new partner? What's the process?
The tender process for the till in itself was about 6 months, which I think I've spoken to other people where they go, that's quite quick. And I've spoken to other people where they go, that's an incredible amount of time
Sounds about right.
researching it. Yeah, and I think it depends on the size of business you are. What does it look like? A lot of research. In London, we are super blessed to have quite a tight-knit hospitality community, restaurateurs. We spoke to a lot of people. So I saw in sight in restaurants, people using different products, and asked them what they liked about it and what they didn't like. That was probably the most important thing for us, is do people that use it and have done for a long time like it? That was probably the biggest influencer.
That really basic question is so key, isn't it?
Yeah, does it work for you? Are you happy? And they go, yeah. And you go, great. Well, we might well be. And if I'm honest, it's a bit of a maybe cop-out. Looking at lists of integrations, I said this, I spoke at Tenzo thing the other day, and I think the best way to find the rest of a tech stack is what are the best integrations that exist where you don't really have to do anything, and it all talks to each other without you putting in loads of time for us. And so I spent a lot of time looking at businesses that I trust or had heard good things about, and who do they like working with, and kind of built it around that.
No, it's great. And it's interesting. And Ben, we were talking before actually just quickly about consumer behavior, but not in the digital marketing space actually, and where you sit and what you look after. How are they accessing the business now through what you do in terms of digital marketing? Is there a change? I mean, I'm presuming do you use Wi-Fi or something to capture data? Sorry, I said that. Slip of the tongue, he's in the room. But are you using those kind of products to capture data and bring people into the net, as it would be?
Yeah, we are. Yeah. Just listening to what everyone was talking about there, like we're doing all that, but we have I have one challenge to solve. That's as simple as that, is to learn what the lifetime value of a customer is. And then the job becomes a lot easier. Right? There's many different ways we can acquire customers, but without knowing that, we don't know where to spend the money. And those things like captive, things like other data collection points, and bringing them into like a kind of a single customer view will allow us to do that. But it's kind of all, I mean, they're all working, right? And they're all doing their job, but we don't really understand, especially if you look at the kind of size of the venues that we've got. Until we understand that calculation, we'll never understand how much money we should be spending, where we should be advertising anything. And that's kind of like, probably took about maybe a month of being in the industry before I saw that being the challenge from what I do. Right? I'm not involved in what these guys are talking about. I kind of got lost actually on some of it, but that's as simple as it is. And 14, 15 months on, and I'm no nearer to that challenge. And I think that probably tells a
Yeah,
tale
and-
about hospitality.
And the reason you're farther down the line, you're not from where you want to be, is it down to the pure fact that we're not integrated, but we haven't got that seamless flow of data, I suppose, or you haven't got that interaction from both customer and operations linking up?
Yeah, there's I think there's a few reasons, right? Different systems aren't that great at talking to each other, potentially, right? We naturally hospitality businesses. I don't know too much about them, so I'm just talking from my own experience.
That's fine.
Right?
That's why you're
But,
here.
You know, every other business would have a developer. You know, you'd have people in tech within the business. You know, that understand this stuff. So we're not equipped to do that, and we're trying to take on that challenge. And that's why the hospitality tech business seems to be so buoyant at the moment, growing, because people understand that that's a challenge, right? But then, how do you bring all that together? That's the difficult part. So that's one reason why
I think.
Yeah.
No, but generally that's
Yeah.
our mission, right? To kind of help do that. And I think, but it is. I mean, we just every day we find same thing, same story, different brand, same story, different brand every day. And and I think the biggest risk is that these people lose focus on what they're meant to be doing, and that dealing with the customers and making sure that actually they're bringing people back. As I said before, winning a customer, new customers, very difficult. Acquiring new customers is a challenge, right? Or can be a challenge. Losing current ones, really easy. And that's the expense of getting things wrong. But I think it's super interesting. What does it look like in terms of the value of a customer? Just while I've got you talking about this, how do you? What's the metric of that? Is it literally a pound value of them?
Yeah.
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 What would that be? Like,
Couldn't tell you. That's the thing, though. So how can you? So from an owner's perspective or an operations person's perspective, certain channels might have an acquisition cost where they go, that doesn't make any sense to us based on our spend per head and everything like that. But if it's a true e-commerce way of looking at things.
I think it's
lifetime value is all they care about, you know, and that's why you'll barely be able to leave an e-commerce website without them trying to take some information or a deal, or the deal will get better and better and better because they want, or now you'll be able to subscribe and get more because that's what it's all about, you know, because they know that their initial acquisition cost will probably not be profitable for them, but if that customer, and why it's such a challenge in our group is we're not single brands, right? They're multiple different brands, so
with the consumers behaving differently across them all.
Massively, yeah.
Wow. It's if anyone's ever tried to leave Adobe.
Can I flip the question real
Same
quick?
thing. Yeah, go.
So can you flip it? So instead of what the customer's value to you is, what's the value to the customer of what your product is? So in that regard, like a lot of stuff is, for where we are in City, it's status. You know, you come in, like if you wanted food, you can go to Pret a Manger. It's not a money thing. It's actually what that experience and what they want from what your product is. And that's when you start looking at it that way, then you can sort of, I think, start to analyze what your guest wants. Is just an outside view.
Yeah, but I absolutely get what you're saying, but it's not what I'm not trying to necessarily. It sounds bad, right, in hospitality, but I'm not trying to work out what the guest wants, right? So from that perspective, I'm trying to work out how valuable an acquisition is to us. That's all we need to know, because then, like I said, we would know if an advertising campaign at a high cost is worthwhile to us, if it generates repeat business. So I do get what you're saying, but it's and it's even more challenging with which we've had a few of, and we have more coming, a new opening, because our acquisition cost would be so high on a new customer. So yeah, I think they're kind of different things.
I think it's. Do you want to pass the mic? Go on, Nick.
It was a comment on that, and I think I would assume that you're saying all of that, assuming that the experience that they have when they get into one of the restaurants is going to be of a good enough quality that they'll continue to consume it. It's a given that it's a nice experience.
It's it's definitely not a given, but it's not
But
it's not my job. So you're right. I assume it's a given.
Yeah,
I'll let someone.
Yeah, because
else.
you have to operate that everything's going 100%.
It's a job for someone else to do. Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Like when you try and leave Adobe, for instance, if you try and cancel your subscription, you go through 4 different stages of going, how about an extra month? How about 20% off, 50% off? Have it for free for a month, whatever it might be. But they presume that your experience is going to be the same, right? No matter what with Adobe, you're going to use it the same way as you used it before. But with us guys, or with the people who work in restaurants, there is some variance potentially in delivery, because it's a bloody challenging place to be. Sorry, go on, Nick. Were you going to reply? No.
I mean, it was that.
Right, okay. Yeah, no, I think it's a real challenge, but I think it's super interesting that actually I haven't heard a lot of people talk that way around acquiring customers in terms of, and that lifetime value across the marketing sphere, I suppose, or the acquisition sphere for restaurants. So, yeah, super interesting. Thank you for that, Ben. And just on that measuring, I mean, we're talking about ROI a bit there, because that's really about, Ben's talking about, how much does it cost us to keep a customer, or to get a customer and retain them. What about ROI? How do you measure in-house what good looks like in terms of, so tech stack, yes, but just general overall experience. How are you? I mean, obviously you see it in revenue, but
Yeah, I think you've got to look at the straight nuts and bolts, right? Restaurants are three things: food, service, drink. If you overcomplicate it, you look into the ether and you're trying to chase what the demands are, then you're lost. You should go, right, are the customers enjoying the food? Are the customers enjoying the service? And are they enjoying the drink? And guess what? You can read that very simply through your guest feedback scores. And once you start nailing that, that's when repeat custom starts to come. And then you can start looking at things in a more analytical, more granular way, looking at ways of creating a quicker booking system and all of that sort of stuff. But the nuts and bolts of all good restaurants are food, drink, service.
very true. Same for you, Izzy, because I think that sometimes, when I was an area manager, I used to be able to walk in a restaurant and I'd feel, it sounds ridiculous, but I could feel if this was a good restaurant, just straight away. I could almost smell it. It's very odd. Is that the real? I know I can feel the data guy's eyes boring through me. But I could. Is that the real measure of ROI in terms of knowing that people are having a great time? That simplicity.
I mean, I think, despite us being here to talk about tech, like there is a lot of this conversation that you just can't measure, and it smiles on people's faces, and it's, I mean, there's surveys for everything, and we had an engagement survey recently for our teams, and I think that is going to be the biggest trigger point for a lot of change and positive impact into how we run our business. So like the data is there and we can use it there, but the only measurable really is to either do that again or go into the restaurants and have a great time. Hearing what people are saying and hearing their opinions.
It's back to your point, right? It doesn't have to be a complicated answer.
Yeah.
I think what we dealt with when the industry is great at, simplicity is best, right? Obviously you can have complexity in your dishes or menus you're creating, but simplicity in terms of a guest knowing what I'm going to receive and being wowed by it is, what we kind of signed up for.
I mean, we have the thumbs up, thumbs down option on our Yumpingo tablets, but it's the open text boxes that I'll spend hours reading, and I can ignore some of them and take some of them more seriously than others. But that's the kind of stuff that I really want to delve into people's real thoughts, rather than just an okay or
a quick thumb.
Yeah. There's not a lot of effort to that.
No, it's really not. It's really good. And Nick, same for you actually in terms of the simplicity of business, because you experience it on the other end, right? So you're dealing with the logistical side of the business.
I think ROI on tech investment is really hard to calculate numerically. I think we suffered for a long time with people not being able to do their jobs to the best of their ability. I think the less friction there is there, the less we hear about problems, the better. And I think that's well worth any investment. I think if people just turn up to work and can do their job without friction, that's what it's there for, and is a real return, and hopefully means that time is then being spent on guests and the kind of the ultimate ROI is profit, right, or money going into the business. And if you see that go up, or
it's all still been here in a year, right?
Yeah,
with
it's
another
measurable. It's all measurable at the end of the day. We're trying to run profitable businesses, and you have to get the service and the food and the drink and the atmosphere right for that. And I think all of this is trying to remove obstacles so that people can give meaningful experiences and hopefully make it a more profitable business.
Yeah, very cool. And last question to you all, since we have the partners in the room before we get into what the future looks like. Yes, Ben, I'm coming to you. Relationships are absolutely key, right? We've talked about the customer relationship there and how and the team. But actually with our partners who are our expert panel who were before you, the relationships with these guys is becoming more and more crucial, right? Because they are a partner of the business. They are supplying you with a service that should enhance your operations. And in terms of what you're trying to achieve, Ben, I suppose, through the data analysis part, how key are the relationships you've got right now, and how do you expect to be looked after, I suppose, from a partner's point of view?
You know you're asking that when most of them are in the room, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it was kind of deliberate.
no, I mean, I think it's a space where those relationships are really, really important, and you tend to find the people that work in these businesses are great people anyway, right? And it is, I would only really, so when I make that decision, and these people, I said, are in the rooms, they wouldn't know this until I'm about to say it, but I wouldn't, despite, the product is one thing, right? But if I can't communicate with the person, right, because we're like I said, incredibly limited in what we can and how we can deliver and what we're able to do our side. So if I'm not able to communicate with the person, and that just means, do we understand each other? Like, it helps if we can have a good time doing it, but do they understand what I mean, and do I understand what they mean? I know that sounds really obvious.
No, but
if I
it's a
can't
quick route to
communicate
market,
with them,
right?
yeah, then we won't. Then I wouldn't. I'd look for another one, and I have. Whether the fact that we said earlier that a lot of the partners here are based here makes a big difference. Yeah. When we're dealing with, a lot of tech stacks and tech stuff comes out of different countries, different time zones. It just wouldn't work for us. I think in hospitality, for me, I need to be able to be that person's tangible, and I can speak to them relatively when I need to.
Yeah, and I think that goes the other side, right? That understanding of when you're selling into a customer, that understanding that actually, can we really support these people properly? And I live in this lovely flowery world where we have rainbows, but I imagine that the partners want to do that, right? They want to sell in and do the right thing by their partners and make sure that they can be accessible and they can deliver on what their website says. What about from the operational point of view on the ground then? How much support are you expecting from these guys? Because I'm always interested to because as I mentioned before, Wagaman was talking about the fact that support is probably up there as the number one ask.
So when you want support, everything's going wrong. You've got a guest screaming at you, a till system down. You've got
Friday night,
yeah,
always,
exactly.
Bank holiday weekend. Yeah.
So it is imperative that piece of support is there and really key. And actually, on the whole, like I used to run Comtrack systems and stuff like that in the previous place, and that was very painful. And I think it's gone a long, long way to being more accessible. I do controversially still think a telephone line until 10 o'clock is a good thing, because when you've got a guest screaming at your face and people wanting then and there answers, sometimes just easier just to have a calming voice on the phone saying turn it on and off again.
Yes, it often works. And same for you, Izzy. I think that's a really good point, actually. But again, it's back to relationships, isn't it? As Ben was saying, that having that, being able to speak to someone, go, look, this is my problem. I'm standing in the restaurant. This isn't working. Do you feel, you don't have to comment particularly on your current partners if they're in the room, but are you getting that level of support you need, or do you think generally that level of support is provided to you guys who are actively doing the work?
I think generally that level of support is given to you if you're asking for it and if you're being clear about what it is that you really need. And if that person is giving you a realistic timeline of when you can expect for the things that you want to be fixed, then that's when you've got a really good relationship. And I think some of the things that, not having a tech brain, I imagine it can probably get fixed in the next 20 minutes, and I don't have an idea of how the timeline works. And so I think having a support line that is really clear with you about what to expect is really helpful. I also think our teams are super resilient in just like their nature of working in hospitality. They've got to be able to battle anything. And like they'll normally kind of make their own fixes for things.
Yeah, operators are amazing, aren't they? Because like if you gave them a dev team, for instance, a product team, they'd probably build the best product in the world. But like because they find ways to manage, right?
Yeah. Like I'll go into restaurants and I'll say, why are you doing it like that? And they're like, well, that broke 3 weeks ago, so now we do it like this. And I think how great would it be if we knew about all those problems at the beginning? So like the support that we get given is only if the feedback that we're getting from the restaurants is clear enough to know what does need to get fixed.
That's a really good point, that circular feedback kind of loop I'm trying to draw there. Because if you're not hearing it from the floor, you're not going to know anyway. And I always say that board people buy in tech, floor people kick it out. So it's always very interesting. And Nick, final point on that. I I lost my train then. What do you think about the support side? Is it something you take into account when you're doing the shopping around and when you're doing your RFP, as it might be?
Yes, support was kind of crucial for us. I think actually we ended up, we use TISSL now. We ended up going with TISSL in part because just thought it was going to break less, is the kind of reality. And so support is really important to us. But
that's not something they want to put on their website.
We just wanted something that was going to work, right? And I think support is really important. My dream is that we don't really need it very often, right? And so products that don't have unnecessary moving parts that aren't going to break, that are going to function as you intended and as you set it up and just like deliver the results is kind of what we wanted. And I think support is great when it's needed, but ultimately you just want kind of stuff to function as intended. And what Izzy said about kind of resilience and workarounds actually makes me incredibly nervous. And I think centralized support where everyone gets the same answers when you're running multiple sites, I think is really important, and trying to make sure that the same thing's happening everywhere so that the same information comes out and
that's the holy grail.
Yeah, and someone isn't working really hard to find a solution to something that kind of doesn't need to be done. Someone else has the solution around the corner, and how do you share that information? And hopefully support isn't necessary.
Weirdly, communication seems to be a hot topic in hospitality, or good communication.
It's rough. I mean, particularly with multiple sites in different parts. You know, how does one person learn from another one?
Look, and it's been super interesting to talk to you. Before I let you all go, we have to do the future question. It's what all good panels end with. Elliot, what does the future look like for you guys this year? Have you got anything planned? Anything exciting happening? Thoughts on the industry? Anything in general?
So for us, we've been operating in the city for 26 years. And this year we have opened both Saturday and Sunday for the first time in 26 years. So the future's looking bright as long as they get bums on seats.
How is that, just out of interest? How has it been?
Saturday, amazing. Sunday, we launched 2 weeks ago. We had 100 people on the first one, 50 on the next. So we'll probably ride a little a pocket. But it's exciting. I think the big thing for tech is going back to that point of moving away from and just creating synergy within everything. And then, the stress goes and we go actually back to the important bits of looking after the guest that is paying the money. Because if we didn't have the human interaction, you'd walk into one Lombard Street and there'll be 10 different vending machines and we can just press it and get the food.
Not sure it'd be there for 26 years after that.
It would not.
No. What about you, Izzy?
So we recently, 6 months ago, opened a new restaurant in Battersea. Which was very exciting, and it's an amazing place.
Going well?
Really going well. Solid team. They communicate really nicely, so that's going well so far. But we also opened brunch for the first time. So we're finding ourselves having kind of some dead spaces during the day that we just desperately need to work well with our comms team and all of the tech that we currently have and use it to the best of our ability to fill those spaces.
And a new menu.
And a new menu.
Breaking the mold. And for you, Nick?
We are hopefully just getting better at what we're doing. I think we've had a lot of change, a lot of tech change in particular. We're hoping to just really refine what we're doing and get better every iteration. And we're trying to project out further and put more meaning into quarterly changes and just slowly refine and learn from our either data or mistakes and just do what we're doing, but as best we can, really.
Iteration is something you can learn from the tech people, right? It's something they do really well. They iterate every week and they're constantly updating their products.
Try something, doesn't go as you expected, but just be ready to review it and try and make the best decisions possible. And we're slowly getting better at it, I think.
Very good. And finally, will you have your number this time next year?
We'll see. We've got some new openings coming, not in the UK. Global ones, and a couple of big tech builds. But it's becoming apparent that they're going to take a lot longer than we thought. But there's no rush, and we'll just keep plugging away at those. But the new openings are pretty big, and they're going to take up a lot of our time.
Keep you busy. Might distract your data. As you said, new openings acquire new customers. Look, guys, very interesting speech. Well, I'm sure everyone appreciates it. I don't know if we've got anything on Slido. Do we? Anyone ask any questions? Are there any questions? We can do this manually. We don't need tech. Or do we? Perfect. Okay, we've got 1 or 2 questions, guys, if you don't mind. What technologies are you using to collect customer data feedback? That's from Anonymous, otherwise known as Prithee. Sorry, go on.
So we use SevenRooms.
Use SevenRooms.
So we use SevenRooms, and then we take that score, and we're a little bit naughty with it. So if you give anything less than 4 stars, we won't say, can you put it on Google? But then we use the analytics and Google driving aspect of that to then push us. So our whole goal at Lombard Street is to push our Google rating up, to create better SEO and from the back, and to fill Sunday.
Very good. You guys use the same systems, I presume. What are you using for guest feedback?
So we use predominantly SevenRooms as well, which really handily is connected to TISSL, so therefore we can check people's spends, but also who they're served by, so that we can deliver kind of team performance reviews, depending on situations. We also use Yumpingo, which is incredibly helpful. We took a break, realized that the Barafina side of the group were using it to the best of its ability, thought maybe we need to try a bit of that too. Weirdly, we're a little competitive, but I don't reckon you've probably told that. And we're finding that's working really well, because we can, all 3 important parts of the restaurant experience, food, drink, service, we can tailor what that review is asking in order to get that information.
Very cool, thank you. I've got one for you, Ben. Digital marketing numbers can be very misleading to a business when generated in silo. How do you ensure the data picture is read and acted upon correctly? Did you write that yourself? Or?
No, I don't know. That seems I could read the question again.
Who is this? Digital marketing numbers can be very misleading to a business when generated in a silo. How do you ensure the data picture is read and acted upon correctly?
I'm not sure I know what the question means.
I think they're saying... Oh. Okay, no, you can take it. I think they're saying if you're operating alone in terms of you're collecting all this data piece, you're single-minded in terms of getting your acquisition number, is that then misrepresenting potentially the rest of the company in terms of what data they're producing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I was, just as you were saying it, I was taking it as that, and also, I think it was mentioned earlier as well, is just looking at it as a number, is it giving me the full picture when we were just talking about guest experience? So I think that it's, whilst I may have been saying that I'm trying to achieve one number, right? That's kind of a simple way of putting it. That once I have that one number, that's when the rest of this problem happens, right? So I'm trying to start with one number, then I have to paint the rest of the picture, and that's not going to be like based on one single thing. And guest experience, which I maybe sound like I'm quite flippant about, is obviously quite important. The offering, through a recent journey and some of the things we've done, kind of the belief that the price and the offering is from a acquisition perspective is more important than any ad spend or anything I'm going to do. Right, if we've done something and we can be honest about it, it was too cheap and it flew, like we couldn't fill the bookings quick enough because the offer was just too good. That would be any other acquisition strategy that I have. Similarly, if it was far too expensive, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, no one's coming, right? So there is loads of other things that are going to go with that information, but I just need to start with a single number first.
Give him his number. Yeah. That's good. And you're not working in silo, because you just mentioned there's loads of other verticals that are going to feed into you. But look, really interesting questions. Thank you, guys. Please, little ripple for the panel. Jesse whispered in my ear that there are some desserts available, so you cannot leave until you've had one each. I'll have 2. And that's it, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Enjoy your desserts, do some more networking, and see you later.